Flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Terry's Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And this video right here is piggybacking off the Ratchet channel when I went live talking about do you have goals or not, or are you distracted? Now, I was breaking down subsidiary of certain tools you can utilize, such as astrology, to find your purpose and goal. So this gonna and specifically, it's gonna be your first house lord and your 10th house lord. So this video right here, and I'm going to upload next, the 10th house lord, and this right here, we're going to talk about this too, and these ones specifically for your purpose and goal, to accumulate as your values, relationships, things that you worry about, that you want to keep as a routine and pattern, as a job, your friend circle, your networking, your desires, deep desires, passions, imaginations, and your associations and things of that nature, or your ability to obtain more morality and wisdom, or the ability to travel internally and externally. So those are the houses and energies. But understanding the first and a 10th house, the first house lord, right, whatever, if you do that in a sufficient manner, you're able to support the opposite house from the first house with that energy, even if your first house lord not in the 7th house. So when you gain your personality and understand your personal influence and things, and how to share space with other people's personalities, that's utilizing sufficiently your first house lord and whatever that the lord is, the planet, and the area of life that it is, which house is in. And then therefore, when you play this out in a sufficient manner, you're able to support your 7th house. And your 7th house is dealing with your relationships and how to relate to others. And then when you do things in a 10th house in a sufficient manner, especially when it comes to what we're talking about, your 10th house lord, and when you apply the 10th house energies into wherever the house lord is at, what house it's in, you're able to support its opposite house, whether that house lord of the 10th house is in the 4th house or not. You're able to take from the 10th house, and it's able to support the 4th house, which is your home, family, stability, support, or privacy, or emotional instability in some way, shape, or form. These things are able to be grounded and able to be have something to support these things from the 10th house. Your status will be able to support your home life and things of that nature. Your business and career will be able to support your home life, and you'll be able to make a home business in some way, shape, or form. And then vice versa. If you do the first house efficiently, it'll support your 7th house. And your 7th house will, your personality and personal issues or personal affairs will be conducted in a sufficient manner when it comes to relating. You having better ways of relating, and also how you relate to others, and your relationships involving into the things that you personally are interested in, to develop, people to share space with that's like-minded. Now, for the most part, let's start off. Now, if the sun is the Lord, right, then you want to make sure these are the natures that you're filtering through and acting and expressing and receiving and trying to see when you're playing out the energies of that area of life, that house, and the people, places, and things that you transmute that house to be in. AKA, if you're dealing with a wise conversation or something that's dealing with morality, you have took whatever you are experiencing in the external world and placed it in the 9th house. The moment you get frustrated, or there's something that you're looking at like a responsibility that you have to uphold, you have placed at whatever you're doing in reality into the 6th house. If you're trying to relate, or you're trying to create a network or a relationship within a circumstance, whatever you're doing in the external world, you're placing that energy into the 7th house. If you're trying to build associations with there, so you could be perceived a certain way even when you're not in that space, so it can be perceived as a public persona, or you can receive public gain from it, then that'll be whatever you're doing in the external world. You placed it into the 11th house. Anytime you're trying to imagine something, create a fantasy on something, maybe lost in a delusion at times, may develop creativity at times, may even dream about these things, or have imaginations like daydreaming about these things, and put faith, belief, and imagination in these things, regardless of what it is, even to your job in the external world. You have placed it into the 12th house, and your job is like naturally play out better in the 6th house. So you'll be playing out opposite energies, daydreaming too much when you're at work, aka playing out too much 12th house energies when you're playing out circumstances that was built off 6th house energies. See what I'm saying? Now, so to find your purpose is the first house lord, and to find how to conduct it so it can become your status and something you're known for, not just something that just come and goes, and you become an adult dope and never actually experience your dreams or even try it. You know what I'm saying? Get rich or fly trying. So for the most part, that would be your house, your 10th house lords, which will be the next video. Now, for the most part, if it's the sun, it's going to be your actions and how you view things and what you chose to see, whatever house it lands in, being a house lord. If your house lord is the moon, then you need to make sure you're extra open with your heart chakra. Be able to receive. Don't be bringing so much trauma, and be more reactionary and responsive or responsible in what area of life that the second house plays. That the moon, if it's the house lord, will play in. If Mercury is the house lord, right, whatever house it plays in, you need to make sure you're acting out that energy in that area of life through the filtering system of the natures of Mercury. Make sure you're utilizing, communicating, thinking, analyzing, you know what I'm saying, and stuff of that manner, and sharing ideas. If it's Venus, make sure that whatever house Venus is in, being the house lord, make sure in that house, that area of life, you are expressing it through the natures of love, appreciation, value, relatability. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make sure you reach the most maximum percentage level, not lacking energy because you're not doing all the traits of it. And the planets is what I'm breaking down. If it's Mars, make sure whatever, if it's the house lord, whatever house is in, make sure you're utilizing passion, motivation, and desire. And, you know, shorten it up, the anger and aggression that could develop from it when desires, passions, motivations is not being met in a timely fashion. Jupiter, whatever house Jupiter is in as a house lord, make sure you're trying to learn in that house, not be small-minded, limited thinking, and make sure you are participating with trying to experience and do more, you know, experiencing at hands-on more than trying to receive too much information, logic, or analyzing or sharing ideas. Make sure you are experiencing first before that get developed, and you can develop the true wisdom and meaning and reasoning and experiences. So anytime that you add trying to learn or trying to experience or trying to travel within that area, for the most part, that's when you're you have to filter it through the Jupiter energy. And when you have to filter it, let's say Saturn is the house lord, make sure whatever house it lands in, that's the house you look at as a little serious, realistically. You know, try to be more foundated when it comes to how your status and how you're seen and how you organize and how you structure things. And don't be trying to and be more disciplined in that area. Don't let desires make you get distracted in that area wherever Saturn is at. And then because even Jupiter, the area of life, make sure you're trying to teach or learn. But then getting into Saturn, we broke that down. Uranus, if it's Uranus, make sure your uniqueness and your originality or your ability to change, rebel, and oppose against something is you're doing that in that area of life if it's a house lord. Neptune, make sure you're adding dreams, creativity, and sometimes filtering out through delusions and rejections in order to have faith, belief, and imagination into the right concept. And make sure that you're going through those energies and not be looking at everything from a practical perspective. Kind of look at it more from a dreamy, creative perspective that it could be transmuted into a certain energy. And then Pluto, make sure that you're causing transformation or power and control, or creating energies where you can deal with the power and control struggles for a positive transformation and become a phoenix other than a narcissistic ego that's going to expire soon. And the more you create transformation and power and control, whether it's a frustrating one or not, within that house that Pluto is in, then that's how you work out in a sufficient manner. Now, for the most part, let's say the first house lord is in the first house, so you are responsible. So you can't be you are responsible for this area. So you can't be too gullible, but you also and passive, but you also can't be too overwhelming, too demanding. So you have to find that little sweet spot, because in certain area, anytime you got a house lord in that house that it rules, for the most part, it's up to you, and you're not allowed to play victim. So you have to find those situations throughout your life that showed you that there's certain times that you have to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more demanding, but you may have been passive. In this area, you may have to be a little bit more passive and a little bit more relatable in certain areas, but you was probably too demanding. And figuring out which is which and what is what, this allows you to not play victim, build resentment, but also be in a sufficient manner where you understand your energies and still be able to not go through frustrations, or put it more on a less percentage scale. So when you got the first house lord in the first house, a lot of times your purpose is dealing with something that you have went through personally. When it's your personal interests, personal affairs, personal people, places, and things, your connections, personal insecurities, personal interests, and the personal things that you were involved in and things of that nature beyond your personal expression. And therefore, there's something in this area that you can utilize in order to help someone else in your same personal space, or to align yourself who someone else may share that kind of space personally, and then therefore you'll be able to accumulate whatever you got going on. And these many experiences, negative or positive, will be how you adjust and find your purpose and ideas based upon the outcome of these experiences. First house lord in the second house. The more you personalize, aka create personal issues, interests, insecurities, dealing with your personal insecurities, or dealing with your personal interest in the area of life of your values. So personalize your values, make it a personal interest. Use your values and where you plant seeds at to build your self-esteem to help your personal insecurities. And things of that nature. That's placed in the first house and the second house. And throughout these circumstances, you will be able to personally develop a personal path that can be valued. Third house, the more that you add your personality, personal issues, personal affairs, personal insecurities, and things of that nature, your interests into your surroundings, your environment. Express these things in your circle, your friend circle, and things of that nature. You'll be able to see individuals separate who don't share your personal space and people who connect with you that actually share your personal space that you can be familiar with and become your social circle, or things that you can actually learn. And therefore those energies will play out with actually understanding your purpose and where you need to do also, almost to the point that, you know, a lot of people with this alignment end up being environmental activists and things of that nature now, or being the first people with the sign at the protest or something, or the first one to tell you that they probably don't care about voting for presidents, but they probably care about voting locally and things of that nature, and try to make that sound more intelligent, intellectual to gain the surroundings or their environment who in arm reach, you know, to a better idea about something. First house lord in the fourth house. The more that you personalize or take a personal interest or express your personality or personal affairs more privately, or within the home, family, or people that share vulnerable energies with you, so they may not be family, but you could consider them family because y'all had a lot of vulnerable connections together beyond y'all other circles and stuff like that. And the more that you personalize these things or create a personal interest, personal affair, especially create a personal interest into having your private space in some way, shape, or form, the more that you will develop ideas and circumstances and abilities being in that type of energy itself that you're participating in, to give you some type of circumstance that you could direct towards your creative attributes and make it more fruitful and speed up the process of manifesting and materializing it. Let's say you have the first house lord in the fifth house, define your passion or your goals. The more you play out and blend those two energies together to create an event or an experience as a beautiful child, to have the ability to expand into whatever you're directing your energy towards. Take your personality, personal issues, affairs, insecurities, or what you're personally interested in, and make these things more expressive, or make these things more entertaining, more light, or make these things part of the energy of fun and enjoyment in some way, shape, or form. Where when people see your personality, first house, they see it as being more youthful, regardless of how old you are. AKA you placing the first house and the fifth house, and whatever planet that is. You know what I'm saying? For an example, let's say you got Gemini or Virgo in the first house. So the first house lords will be Mercury, and Mercury in the fifth house. So the more you take your personality, first house, and make it more expressive, light, or make it seem like it's got some energy of fun and enjoyment in it on a percentage scale, fifth house, taking the first house and placing it in the fifth house, the more you do that through the filter system of the natures of Mercury, aka you're doing it in a communicative way or sharing ideas way or thinking way, then now you're maximizing and bringing the three together and filling it all up, and then therefore you're getting ready to receive the maximum amount of energy out of whatever experience that you manifest, negative or positive, to be able to take that ability to craft and adjust your thought form to be able to speed up the process of whatever you're directing that towards as far as your creative gifts and talents. First house lord and the first house lord in the sixth house. The more you personalize or make a personal issue, insecurity, or personal affair or personal interest out of something that deal with work, health, routine, scheduling, or things to do on a day-to-day basis or some form of discipline, the more that you end up manifesting a circumstance and know how to go about finding your purpose and goal in that. Even if you got to quit a job because that circumstance and that energy you in made you have a better idea about something, or make you be at a job and just deal with it in a more sufficient manner and figure out better ways of how to go about it to actually help you to wherever you're directing your energies towards. Where if you personalize your job more, and let's say it's Venus, so let's say if you got Taurus or Libra in the first house and your first house lord is in the sixth house, it's debilitated, so it may be a little frustration a lot of times, and it may be a little bit more work and non-play. But if you play out the energies of personalizing first house, your responsibilities, aka sixth house, aka you're personally worried about staying on discipline and on task about something, then for the most part, if it's Venus, you're able to love and appreciate getting rid of certain desires that take you off task. And even though Venus may be frustrated, if you learn to love that circumstance in a right sufficient manner and know how to play at times and stay on task though without getting off task, and for the most part, you you personalizing first house, sixth house routines and patterns and expressing it in a loving manner, in a Venus way, in a supportive way, then for the most part, you'll end up being in a situation where you even actually find a job or a purpose or a circumstance that you could personalize and actually conduct and become your actually routines and patterns in a more sufficient manner. That energy itself will make you, wherever you're directing that energy towards, speed up the process. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you make music. You'll be more disciplined when you're making it instead of not going to the studio when you know you're supposed to, because you have personalized it. First house, which you had as a routine and a pattern, in sixth house, and you did it with love, aka, so you loved being doing what you was doing at the studio as a routine and pattern in the sixth house because you personalized it with the first house. Now, for the most part, when you create those circumstances and outcomes of being in that original intent and that energy, the people, places, and things that you start to intervene with is going to craft the thought when you join those multiple energies together with your own, and it's going to become an event or an experience that actually craft out to make you figure out what's your actual purpose or your goal in your own individual life, without somebody specifically telling you what's your purpose. They're telling you the alchemy of how to make up the circumstance so you can find your own purpose, aka someone bringing you to the water, but you developing your own cup, and therefore now no one has to teach you how to drink. Let's say you got the first house lord in the seventh house, right? The more that you personalize or make a personal issue, affair, or insecurity or interest out of relationships, relating to others, or networking in some way, shape, or form, and personalize these things, make it a personal interest to be relatable. You know what I'm saying? Make it a personal issue at times when things are unrelatable, so you could change your way of being relatable to develop more relationships and to share your personal space. The more that it manifests in areas that don't deal with that, but that energy itself play out as a door opener for other areas, just based upon your playing out your natures and not coming in no unwarranted energies for spirit pilot sisters to tingle. And if they was the gatekeeper, they'd probably shut the door in your face because you probably got baggage that you're unaware of, and it's playing out as your body language or certain things that you're saying that make someone a little nervous into trusting you that you may be unaware of. First house lord in the eighth house, right? So this puts you in a situation where the more that you apply your personality, personal issues, affairs, insecurities, or interests into your deep desires, passions behind closed doors. Don't let everybody know what you're personally interested in, aka behind closed doors, eighth house. Don't let everybody know what you're personally interested in, placing the first house in that eighth house. Then for the most part, here's the thing, then you're going to start to manifest that energy of knowing a better way of going about things and not putting your foot in your mouth before something is actually sufficient to be expressed, and you can actually sit on it without having no guilt or manipulating energies behind it. And just by that alone, in other areas in your life, it'll play out more sufficiently. Then you have let's say the first house lord is in the ninth house. The more you personalize the wisdom and knowledge that you are experiencing and actually using it in your personal house your personal life to deal with your personal issues, insecurities, interests, affairs, and things that you want to personally express. The more that you're putting that energy into things that deal with wisdom, knowledge, morality, self-realization, shadow work, the ability to travel internally, broaden your mind, travel externally, go to different places that's separate from old things that hold you back via manifesting people, places, and things that represent those areas. The more that you represent that area, you'll be able to bring things new, and that'll also support the opposite house, the third house, bringing something new to what's familiar. And you'll be able to change your location and your space around you, because this is a small representation of rising again, because you're changing the world, changing your own world, so you end up changing the world around you, aka changing your own world, distancing yourself, ninth house. Now you're changing the world around you, third house, and your friend circle to represent that to a much more sufficient manner. And that'll play out in other areas. First house lord in the 10th house, it'll put you in a situation where the more you take your personality, personal interests, personal affairs, your insecurities, and the way that you personally express yourself, and apply that and try to create a status around it, or try to be known for your personality, try to be known, creating a status, 10th house, about your personality, personal issues, and affairs, putting it on Front Street, broadcasting it in some way, shape, or form to make it look like it's something productive, something that could be built, something that could be useful, something that could be aligning with others in some way, shape, or form, like an entrepreneur. Even if it's just your mentality, the way you're coming across with your morality and your character is entrepreneur, so you can open up gates so people can trust you more than someone else who express energies of being unsure of themselves. And therefore, the more that you place yourself in that manner, the more that you will even see yourself into a boss-like position, male or female, and wherever you direct that energy towards. You know what I'm saying? First you play out the mental game, bend in on itself, become your actions, and that's how we sufficientify things in our lives and materialize and manifest. Now, let's say you got the first house lord in the 11th house, right? The more that you personalize or take personal interest, affair, insecurity, or handle your personal issues through the filtering system of dealing with associates, associations that can help you with these things, or how you conduct yourself in the public arena. The way you conduct yourself in the public arena, 11th house, is more your personality, not no fake, phony alignment, and your personal interest. You're not creating a false personal interest regardless of where you at publicly, and therefore this puts you in or when you're dealing with your associations, you're not creating no false persona, you're actually expressing your true personality, personal issues, personal affairs, insecurities, or interests amongst your first house, amongst your associations, associates, and how you conduct yourself in a public arena and dealing with the unknown and unfamiliar. 11th house, and therefore you'll be able to take that energy and it'll play out in those energies you're directing your gifts and talents in, if you have any, or if you don't have any, those type of circumstances and interactions with your associations, every time you express your true personality or personal insecurities, whatever the interactions you come to conclusions with after the outcome of the events and experiences dealing with your associations will allow you to have more strength with your personality, and in some way, shape, or form, and know where you're going wrong to adjust it a better way. And just those circumstances itself, you can find a purpose out of that, and you'll find new ways to probably be a lot of people who have this alignment end up having jobs like being a social worker or something like that. Humanitarian, someone who create the charity profit or organization itself for others to give charity to, and they be the people who are in control where the charity is going and things of that nature based upon their funding program. You see what I'm saying? This would be that individual who got alignments like that, just to make it simple for y'all so y'all don't be in la la land. Now, for the most part, so you could make up this for yourself of what you do in your life and how you experience things in the jobs within your neighborhood, or how you could conduct a job for yourself and help others. First house and the 12th house. The more first house lord in the 12th house, the more you conduct your personality, personal interest, personal affairs, or personal expression, or even your personal insecurities, and apply it in the area of having a little bit more faith, belief, imagination, dream, creativity, filtering out if you're in a personal delusion or not. And then for the most part, when you blend those two energies in, you're able to see the outcome of a creative goal or a talent, or actually find your creative goal or a talent that you could personalize from that dream world, aka taking your first house, personalizing something, and making a personal issue or insecurity or interest out of it. And what you're doing is placing that in the 12th house, making a personal insecurity or interest out of something that's dealing with a dream, imagination, fantasy. And when I say insecurity, sometimes this is how we do shadow work, and that insecurity teaches how to not develop a worse one in the future. So we always have to use our vulnerabilities to make it an ego, not let our ego to protect the vulnerability, and then we have a false sense of reality, and then we don't know what's going on. So the more that you take your personality, personal issues and affairs, and or interests or insecurities, and express these things in the area of dream, creativity, book, art, fantasy, and things of that nature, you will probably become the next Walt Disney and things of that nature if that's your creative gifts, that's your directing it towards. And I love y'all from the bottom of my heart.